Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Hello, everyone. Are you ready to live an inspired and empowered life? Welcome to the Inspired and Empowered Living TV show and podcast. We're live Tuesdays, 11 a.m. Eastern on Talk4TV, W4WN.com, and my YouTube channel. And today we will be talking about the power of self-love. And so join me for a transformative journey of the profound benefits of self-love. When you cultivate a love for yourself, you initiate powerful transformation in your relationships with both yourself and others. Witness the magic unfold as you manifest the life of your dreams. Experience the joy of loving yourself so that you can create an inspired and empowered life. Together, let's create a life you love. I'm your host, Nanci Deutsch, licensed clinical social worker, certified hypnotherapist, and intuitive breakthrough expert. I combine my counseling, coaching, and intuitive abilities to transform your life and the lives of others. And this show is not a replacement for therapy or counseling. It is for educational purposes only. So, self-love is near and dear to my heart. And as I was getting ready to come on, I realized that I have been talking about self-love since I began to be a social worker, which is over 30 years. And I started speaking about self-love. It was like one of the first topics. And that was back in 1992. Okay. So I've been around a while. And the reason why I love sharing about self-love is because self-love is what changes your life. The more that you can love yourself, the more your life will change and will transform. And it's all about self-love, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So, as I said, your life will change as you love yourself. Now, as always, you know, I want to hear your comments and questions. And we already have a comment and a question that came in, and so from Country Corners Gazette. And they ask, why is it so hard for us to love ourselves? Okay, so let me share a little bit of my journey that may help you to understand yours. So I grew up with a lot of trauma on many levels. And what happened because of the trauma, I developed anxiety, depression, low self-esteem, and post-traumatic stress disorder. And so when you grow up with trauma, and I'm going to, whether your parents were good or bad or somewhere in between, Most of us grew up in families where we were not taught to love ourselves. And we weren't taught to love ourselves because they didn't know how to teach us. Your parents, more than likely, were people who didn't love themselves. And so a parent can't teach a child what they don't know. So my parents, and I know my parents love me, and I love them and adore them, but I also know they had their own trauma. And what happens is there's generational trauma. And what that leads to is limiting beliefs and emotions that keep us from loving ourselves. And so being on the journey, and that was how, like, I wanted to start my journey, was I wanted to love myself more. I wanted to feel better about myself. And what happened was one day I enrolled in a trauma training program, a program where I could learn how to transform other people's trauma and my own. And I learned even more from that training how important it is to heal. Now, even if you feel like you haven't had trauma, that's fine. But a lot of times people don't even know that they've had trauma. That if you grew up in a family where it wasn't okay to feel a feeling, or it wasn't okay to feel certain feelings. Now, even though your parents loved you, if you were shut down in any way from feeling, from expressing yourself, how many of you have heard the saying, children should be seen but not heard? And many grow up in families where children are not seen and not heard, and definitely not understood. And if you've grown up in a family where you're not seen, where you're not heard, where you're not understood, that is trauma. It leads to limiting beliefs. That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about limiting beliefs and emotions that keep you from being able to feel that self-love, to be able to feel that you deserve and you are worthy of receiving, that you're worthy of receiving love, you're worthy of receiving abundance and health and all the wonderful things that life has to offer, that you're deserving of receiving and manifesting a life of your dreams, an inspired and empowered life. And I want you all to know that. And so the reason why it's so hard to love ourselves is because we didn't learn how to love ourselves. In fact, and then we were shut down from loving ourselves. How many of you grew up in families where it wasn't okay to trust yourself? Your parents said, oh, don't listen to yourself, or don't listen to what you're thinking or feeling. And they may not have even said it directly like that. But if they said, you listen to me, you do what I say, don't think about it. And what happens was you grew up letting them make the decisions. If you grew up in a family where your parents made the decisions for you and you never learned as an older child or an adolescent how to make your own decisions, that creates lack of self-love. So if any of this relates or any other questions, put a comment in the chat. Let me know. Want to hear from you. I want this show to be helpful for you so that you can find out more about how to love yourself and what it really means. So you know what? let me start with what it means to have self-love. So I'll go back to my own life. So what happened was, as I started clearing my trauma, as I started being on my personal growth path, my self-growth path of development, and I started doing workshops and trainings and doing all kinds of things that would heal so that I can learn to love myself, because I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know what it felt like, which you may not either. And so I want you to know it's okay if you're not sure what it feels like or what it looks like. So what we're going to do is help you get more clarity of what it feels like, what it looks like. And so as I started loving myself and not looking for love outside, and I will tell you, growing up and into my adulthood, I looked for love outside myself from authority figures, from my parents, from friends, and from a romantic partner. And I craved it. And I ended up becoming a people pleaser because I would do anything to get that love. And as I started healing my trauma, I started realizing that I needed to set boundaries. So, when you start setting boundaries and saying no to take care of yourself, that's self-love. I started listening to what I was thinking about myself. Still working on that, I will be honest. And when I would say, oh, you can't do that, or you're so dumb, or that was really a stupid thing to do, or you're stupid. Although I'm not sure those are the exact words that I used, but I know I have had clients that use those words. And if you're saying to yourself you can't do something, if you're saying to yourself you are not, you're stupid, or what's wrong with you, or any of those kinds of comments that you're thinking and saying to yourself, that's not self-love. That's hurting yourself. So self-love would be saying things like, yes, you can do it, or listen, you're learning. This is a learning opportunity. Yes, you made a mistake, and this is a learning opportunity to understand how you could do it better, or to learn what is it that I needed to learn from this experience. How many of you, and I see Misty's question, so I'll get to it in a sec. How many of you have had the experience where you put your foot in the mouth? You were like, oh, why did I say that? That hurt somebody, or I just messed up that relationship, or oops, I made a boo-boo, or whatever. You said something that you wish you hadn't, or you regretted. And you made a mistake. And so it's really a learning opportunity to perhaps think before you speak, and to be careful what you're saying to others and yourself, so that you're not beating yourself up for saying things you later regret. Now, listen, we all can do that. So the important thing is to not beat yourself up if you've done it, but to ask, what can I do better next time? How can I learn from this experience? What do I need to do so that it doesn't happen again, or it happens less frequently? So just things to ask yourself. So I know we have a question from Misty. When do we learn to break the cycle and realize we need to take care of ourselves? So, Misty, the first, I see the one question at a time. I see the one from Country Corners. I'll get to that after. So, this is for you to remember. One is if you're listening to this show, or if you're listening to the podcast, you're willing to discover what you need to do to break the cycle. So, congratulations. Thank you for being here. And it's about slowing it down. And I really want you to know before you respond to anybody. So, okay, so let me do my Psych 101 and also talk about reaction versus response again. So, your conscious mind is the part of you that tuned in today. So, thank you for tuning in, whether you're live or listening at a later time or viewing at a later time. And you made a conscious decision to tune in. When you make conscious decisions, you empower yourself. And making a conscious decision is when you're responding to something so that you are moving to another level. You're growing, you're healing. You're not in the reaction. When you are in reaction, you're in your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind is that part of you. From the moment that you were conceived to present time, that has recorded every moment, every breath you've been alive, including past lives and including ancestral issues like ancestral trauma. Like I said, generational issues, that's all in your subconscious mind. And you have the power to break the cycle. The first step is the awareness. You can't break or change a cycle if you're not aware of it. So, you tuning into the show, you becoming more aware, you becoming more conscious, that's your conscious mind, and it empowers you to break the cycle. And then when you learned to give it all away to other people, it's piece by piece, step by step, learning to set the boundaries, learning to heal the trauma, learning to heal those places so that you are taking the actions for that self-care. So I'll give you an example. So I was working with Jennifer, and Jennifer was, when she first came to me, she grew up with a lot of trauma. She didn't love herself at all. She was in an unhealthy relationship, and she was wondering whether to stay or go in her marriage. There was a lot of anger and a lot of just low self-esteem. And what happened is, as Jennifer and I started working together, we started healing her trauma, healing those subconscious patterns, the limiting beliefs, the emotions that are in your subconscious mind because of the trauma. And she started really loving herself more and more. And as she loved herself more, she ended that unhealthy relationship. She was having an affair. And she made the conscious decision. And I'll probably be talking about Jennifer again. And she made the conscious decision to stay in her marriage. And years later, as that now she is so grateful. She's in a place of gratitude because she's loving herself more. She's cleared a lot of the issues, and it doesn't mean she's totally free. Listen, I really want you to know this is not a destination. It is a journey of self-love. I think I used to call this show The Journey of Self-Love. And if I didn't, I could have, because it's a journey. And even if you are not able to set the boundaries or take care of yourself all the time, and it's unrealistic to think that you would go to no self-care to all self-care. It's step by step, action by action, one no at a time, one relationship at a time. And know, KNOW, that you can break the cycle. So, Misty, hopefully that answer was helpful. I want you all to know that it takes time, it takes work, but breaking the cycle and learning to take care of yourself, that self-care, I call it essential self-care, is crucial. And what happens is the energy of self-love, self-worth, self-esteem, self-confidence starts to grow and your life changes. So I want you all to know you can do it. Okay, so we have a question from Country Corners Gazette. Are you saying we need to learn to talk to ourselves in a better way? I am. And know that you may be aware of self-talk and you may not. But one of the important things that I teach clients is positive self-talk. Positive self-talk. And positive self-talk, and Jennifer started talking to herself more positively. Okay, I will share that in a second. I see your question. So positive self-talk is learning to stop the negative. Like if, let's say, for example, you've made a mistake and you say, I'm so stupid. How could I have done that? And that's very common. So if you're saying it, no, you're not alone. And what I want you to become aware of is as soon as you hear yourself saying that to you, say, stop. I'm not stupid. In fact, okay, so I made a mistake. Whether it's a mistake with another person, a mistake at work, a mistake in a relationship, a mistake with yourself. Maybe you handled something in your life poorly, a situation that you wish you had done differently around your health, around finances, around other relationships. And instead of calling yourself stupid or dumb or whatever you may call, or there's something wrong with you, or you're not good enough, all of those are very common things that people say to themselves. You're going to say, okay, so I made this mistake. What did I learn from this experience? And how can I do it differently? What did I learn from this experience and how can I do it differently? Two very important questions to ask yourself. So that can help you. So hopefully, learning to talk to yourselves, and I got to have some water, self-care. So hopefully, that will help you. And it's finding a positive statement or the next positive statement you can find. Like saying to yourself, I'm learning, I'm growing. I'm working on changing, I'm working on growing, I'm working on learning. I'm in the process of working and growing and learning, or however you want to put it. I want to support you in remembering, yes, positive self-talk and learning to start to become aware of what you are saying to yourself. What are you thinking and what are you saying to yourself? And then begin to turn it around, begin to change it. Really huge, huge loving yourself, self-love pieces. Okay, so we have Misty ask the question, did the marriage heal and did the husband know the indiscretion? Okay, so yes, the husband knew of the indiscretion, and yes, the marriage has healed. What has happened is Jennifer began to start communicating in healthy ways to her husband, Evan. And as that began happening, she began to be able to have a healthier and healthier relationship with her husband. And because of that, their lives are getting better and better together. And yes, they have healed. And I want you to know that one person in the relationship, because it was Jennifer who was doing the work and started communicating in positive, healthy ways that started changing the relationship. And know that you can make a difference in any relationship unless, okay, unless the person is so unhealthy and toxic that there's not any communication will not be heard. And then you need to decide, is that a relationship you want to stay in, or is it a relationship you need to let go? And that is also self-care, to decide whether to stay or go. And so know that relationships can heal. And the most important person it starts with is you. Because as you make changes, your life will change. And I'm going to keep saying that over and over again. Look, I watch in my life how much my life has changed. How much my life has changed because I've loved myself more and more and still working on it, still growing. No, it's a journey, not a destination. Okay, so I know we have a question from Mickey. So let's, when we say those things at the moment, do we really take it to heart and care it around? So you may not be in the beginning to start, like you may catch yourself and you may catch yourself and you may say, oh, I am really going to know. Oh, let's see. Okay. So it's learning. It's learning to keep saying those things. In the beginning, you may not totally believe them. And that's why the deeper healing and clearing is important. Because the more that you can clear the energy, those old limiting beliefs and emotions, the more you can make the way for when you talk positively to yourself, you believe it more and more. And know that I've had other clients that have had a lot of trauma, and they have also, like, for example, Melanie had a lot of trauma growing up, and her self-esteem was really low. But I have watched Melanie heal time and again, and she is now talking positively to herself. She's setting boundaries. She has a new sense of self-love, a new sense of self. And no, and it doesn't mean she's all healed, because I really want you to know, again, that this is a journey, not a destination, and that you're in this process of healing and growing and changing and transforming. So even if you don't believe it in the very beginning, just you stopping and making yourself aware of, oh, look what I said to myself. And take a breath. And starting to change it around changes the energy. So just you saying to yourself, and this is not just a just, but when you say to yourself, no, I'm not going to do that to myself, or no, I'm not going to call myself that, or stop, and what can I learn from this experience, and how can I change it, or what can I do to go from here? So taking the time to ask the questions are really powerful. And asking yourself questions, it actually changes the energy of your experience. Now, know that it is a process, and you're going to need to keep working on it. One change, one step in positive self-talk and saying it once is not going to change it forever. But in that moment, you've made a difference in yourself and in your life. So don't underestimate the changes, one moment, one breath at a time, one sentence at a time. Okay? So hopefully it's a journey. And I know I keep saying that. I know that I keep repeating that because I really want you to know and it's not necessarily an easy journey. I've worked a long time to keep loving myself, and I'm still working on it. And every decision that we make, every relationship we have, every time, every day, it's a new day. And how are you going to talk to yourself today? What are you going to do for that self-care today? So I really want to support you. Know that you can do it. One step, one moment, one breath at a time. Okay, so I see we have another question. Did the husband know before the healing started, or did he find out in therapy? Okay, so he never went to therapy, and what happened was he found out. I'm not exactly sure. I don't totally remember how he found out, but he did find out. But the most important thing is that as she changed and as she made the conscious decision to love herself and to start loving him and start respecting him and start communicating, because that's what happens with communication. It's about love and mutual love and respect, including communication with yourself. So everything that I am saying about other relationships is also the relationship with yourself. And everything I'm saying about the relationship with yourself also applies to other relationships. And that's why every February, when I'm talking about relationships, I start with self-love, because it's interchangeable. The more you love yourself, the more others will love you. So know that as you keep growing and healing and changing, and your relationships can get better too. And I also want to support you in remembering that I have a meditation that can also help you clear your energy and be able to clear your energy and connect to your higher self, this wise, unconditionally loving part of you, and then receive answers and information from the higher aspects, your higher self. And so go to the meditation. To get the meditation, go to inspiredandempoweredliving.com/meditation, meditation, and meditation. And you can, it's the name of the show.com/meditation. And Rebel put the links in the chat. And so know that you can start receiving the help. Start with the meditation. It's a great beginning. So, and another question, did the husband step out of the marriage at all? No. Nope. No. He was committed to her. And there's a lot of love there. But what happened was there was just a lot of stuff. I remember I talked that you are the lights. Your soul is the sun shining through, and the clouds are the limiting emotions and the limiting beliefs. And what happened is, as she started healing, as Jennifer started healing, she began to be able to heal the relationship. And her husband was willing to heal it with her. He loved her and he wanted to be in the marriage. And so together they stayed and have gotten healthier and healed. So just know it's all possible of what can happen. Okay, country corners. Like playing a game and making the wrong move and saying that was stupid. I do it all the time, but it is just a present moment mistake. I don't think I take that to the self-mean talk, or is it? Okay. So this is really important. Even if you don't think you're taking it to heart, the fact that you're saying that you've learned to say that, there is a part of you that believes it. And I have had clients where they would self-depreciate themselves, like to other people, like, oh, I'm so stupid, or oh, I'm so this, or I'm so that, in a negative, very negative comments to other people. And they would even make jokes at their expense. And so even if you're doing it joking, or you don't think you're taking it to heart, I'm going to support all of you that starting to change those words can make a big difference. Even saying, I'm kidding around. Because whether you're saying it to yourself, whether you're saying it to other people about yourself, or you're saying it about somebody else, there is sabotage there. There is perhaps anger there. And the more that you can be able to stop that talk and try to, what I call it, reframe it, change it into a positive so that you are thinking positively, you're talking more positively. So even if you think you're kidding around to yourself or you're saying it in the moment, there is a part of you that really believes it, even if you don't realize it. And so that changing that can be really powerful to help you to increase your level of self-love. So would love to hear how that goes. That had to be love for him not to leave her and work things out. Yes. And that's the true nature of love. And I'm going to get spiritual on you because I love getting that spiritual thing in here. So, before you come in, you make contracts with souls. And in your relationships and in their relationship, their contract was to heal and grow together. Now, she does have free will and she made a choice. But I believe that that choice came out of her knowing, listening to her heart. Remember, I've talked about listening to your heart as your soul speaking through you or to you. And her heart knew she needed to stay and grow old with him. It was their soul contract, and she kept it. And so, ultimately, it's being able to tune in and know and ask the question, what's for my highest good? Now, he just knew he loved her. He didn't want to leave. He didn't want it to end. And so together they've healed their relationship. And know that you can too. Whether it's the relationship with yourself or the relationship with another, I believe healing is possible. Again, most relationships, if you're meant to work things out, you can and you will. It takes work, but it's worth the work. And as you love yourself more and more, you transform your life and your life does change. So know that we've talked about the self-love and how important it is to have conscious awareness of what you're thinking about yourself, what you're saying to yourself, so you can change those thoughts, those patterns. We talked about setting boundaries. That's essential self-care. And essential self-care is really crucial. And so I want to support you all over this next week to start becoming more aware of what you're thinking. What are you saying to yourself? And how are you saying it? And know, one step at a time, one no at a time, can help you start making the changes in your life. And one of the ways to remember that is asking yourself, what's going to be for my highest good in this situation? What's going to be for my highest good in this situation? And we're going to talk more about self-love next week. So the power of self-love part 2. So stay tuned. And for more inspired and empowered living next Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern on talk4tv.com, w4wn.com, and my YouTube channel. And I look forward to connecting with you more next week. So I hope you have an inspired and empowered day and an inspired and empowered week. Bye for now.